Hi guys. Imagine a man who was sent for a mission to a new planet but ends up falling in love with the Navis of the planet named Avatar. He was sent for the mission of stealing their valuable stone, but in last, he helped them and got shifted there. Actually, this all happened in the movie Avatar 1, and today I am going to tell you the story of Avatar 2, The Way of Water. The movie opens with the main character, Jake Sully, narrating his simple and peaceful life with his family in Pandora as a chief. He mentions that he and his wife, Ney'tiri, have a total of 5 children, 2 sons, Ney'tiam, Loak, a daughter Tuk. They adopted their daughter Kiri, and a named boy named Spider. Jake goes on to clarify that Kiri is the daughter of his dear friend Grace, who died while helping the Na'vi, the people fighting against humans. As for Spider, he was left behind when all of the humans returned to Earth after losing their battle. Jake states that the children play together and take good care of one another. Despite being different in color and body size, Jack mentions that all of them children are living together like a family. However, Ney'tiri doesn't like Spider because he is revealed to be the son of Colonel Mike Squarch, the evil man who almost wiped off all of the navies. It turns out that Spider was left behind on Pandora because he was too small to be transported back to Earth. Kiri, on the other hand, has a special connection with Spider and is very fond of him. As the human boy has spent all of his life with the Na'vi people, he thinks that he's one of them. One night, when Ney'tiri and Jack are talking, they notice some bright spaceship in the sky. Suddenly, the spaceships approach them and start wreaking havoc. The Omaticaya habitat is torched with flames, resulting in widespread destructions and death of many animals. From the spaceships, a group of soldiers with robotic artillery emerge and finish off all of them left at that place. Ney'tiri and Jake, who are watching from afar, are shocked to learn that the RDA spaceship carrying humans who are there to colonize Pandora and build another main operating station. The scene then shifts to one of the human laboratories where scientists have successfully created a Na'vi clone for the Colonel. He has been fed with the memories and data that have been collected prior to the death. Because of this, the Colonel's clone knows everything except who killed him and how. Along with the Colonel, the scientists have also manufactured the clones of other soldiers who were present during the previous attack on Pandora. As a result, the Colonel and his men are hell-bent on destroying the Omaticaya and in particular Jake. Meanwhile, in an attempt to ward off the intruders, Jake leads the Na'vi army towards the RDA-trained supply lines. He successfully infiltrates it and manages to steal ammunition and supply. During this operation, one of the sons, Loak, does not listen to his orders and gets himself wounded. Jake scolds him and asks him to be disciplined for the next time. On the other hand, the Colonel meets his senior, General Ardmore, who informs him that the Na'vi's flying partners, they are called Scones. They're currently attacking their helicopters and slowing them down. Hearing this, the Quaritch makes a master plan to invade the forest, where they battled previously, and gather some information about them. Soon he arrives at the forest along with the other companions. Unfortunately, Jake's children are also playing around in the same forest. Right then, the Colonel looks around and the previous battlefield and discovers his robotic suit, with his remains still inside. All of this is observed by Loak, and he immediately contacts his father with the help of a voice transmitter around his neck. Jake listens to this and suggests Loak to stay away from them and leave the place quietly. He and Ney'tiri then fly towards the forest to check on their children's safety. Sadly, when Loak and his siblings try to flee, they are captured by the humans. The Colonel takes a closer look at his fingers and gets to know that they're his arch rival. Just then, Ney'tiri and Jake arrive there and attack the soldiers. They manage to free most of the children, but not Spider. The boy is unfortunately taken away by the evil humans. Later, when the Colonel asks Spider his name, he quickly understands that he is his son. Back in Omaticaya, Jake approaches his wife and suggests that they leave the place and head towards the eastern seaboard. He is worried about the Spider revealing their location to the Colonel and his people. Jake also tells Ney'tiri that until he is there with the tribe, the humans will keep attacking them, as he is the one who killed Colonel Quaritch in the first place. Ney'tiri doesn't want to leave her beautiful home, but she knows that whatever her husband is saying is true. Hence, she obliges to migrate with him. On the other hand, General Ardmore dishes out some more cruelty on Spider by placing him in a rotating machine. He tries to extract information from the boy, but to no avail. Spider is too loyal to his Navy parents, and he won't be budging. Surprisingly, the Colonel cannot see his son in this state, and he immediately stops the spinning machine. He then approaches the General and tells her that he will handle Spider in his own way. Later, he meets the boy in a separate room and reassures him that he's not a bad person. He also discloses that he's there to take him back to Earth. This warms up Spider's heart, and he eventually agrees to provide him with the information he wants. In the next scene, Jake and his entire family leave their native home and fly away to the Scouts. After flying for a few days, they finally arrive at a place called Meitikaina, where another Na'vi tribe arrives. Surprisingly, the Na'vis living here are faint in color, and they prefer to stay in water. Seeing Jake and his gang, they start making fun of their appearance. Soon, the head of the tribe feels skeptical about Jake and his family and mentions that they're not suited to survive in the water. However, desperate to save his family, Jake promises that he will adapt to the place in no time. He then reveals how he's being chased after by some humans. Hearing this, Tonowari finally agrees to let them stay and provides them with a shelter. He also asks his children to teach Jake's children how to swim and use their special creatures to move around in the water. Obliging to the request, Tonowari's children take their new friends to the ocean and start showing them the basics. Meanwhile, the ever-mischievous Loak tries to connect with the sea creature but loses control and falls into the water. Seeing this, Tonowari's children start laughing. As all this is happening, the girl, Kiri, is being seen deep inside the ocean. Surprisingly, she's adapted well in the place and even can control some of the creatures. The following day, when Kiri is meditating underwater, Tonowari's son, Onang, and his friend approach her and start making fun of her, calling her a freak. Because of this, Loak arrives and punches Onang. Later, when Jake finds out about the incident, he angrily orders his son to go and apologize to Onong as he is the clan leader's son. Reluctantly, Loak agrees and says sorry. Although Onong forgives him in front of the others, deep down he's still angry. So, in order to teach Loak a lesson, he takes him to the scheduled location of the Pertex. Loak is completely oblivious and there are dangerous sea predators in the sea. A while later, when Loak is fishing, a large predator swims at him rapidly. Terrified, afraid, Loak looks around for help but fails to find anyone. But just then, a humongous creature named Payakan comes to the rescue. It swiftly kills the predator with the help of his white head. Here we get to know that Payakan is a Tulkun, a peaceful and indulgent creature. There are thousands of Tulkuns in the sea, which made Kanya regard as their spiritual family. Payakan is the largest and mightiest of them all. In the meantime, Loak is rescued and brought to the surface by Payakan. The latter then helps the creature by pulling some of his harpoons, which was apparently hurting it. With this, the two create a beautiful bond and befriend each other. Later, when Loak reaches land, he is called up by the Tonawari. The strict leader has found out about his son's shenanigans and wants Onong to apologize. However, the selfless Loak accepts responsibility of actions and lies about Onong that had nothing to do with it. This finally makes Onong realize that the new Navis are not as bad at all. After some time, Loak reunites with his brother and friends and explains how Payakan saved his life. To his surprise, no one believes him. Instead, they reveal that Payakan is a killer and that he was abandoned by other Tulkuns. On the other hand, Spider briefs about the colonel and about the Navi culture and takes him to the Hallelujah mountain to select a scone for himself. At first, the colonel struggles, but soon he gets the hang of it and flies around. Soon after, he also gets information about Jake's possible location and heads towards the Metkania reef with his army. On arriving, he confronts some water Navis and inquires if they know Jake. When the Navis say no, the evil humans kill one of them and also burn their houses. Despite this, the Navis stand by their statement. Left with no options, the colonel signals his team to go to Plan B. Now he wants to kill the Tulkuns in large numbers, hoping that they will finally draw out Jake, but there are also no advantage of killing them. The Tulkuns have a precious liquid inside their brains which can increase longevity. On Earth, a single liter of this liquid will go for minions. Soon, some hunters start chasing after the sea monsters. They strike numerous trackers in them and render them unconscious. In a heartbreaking scene, when we can see Mother Tulkun brutally laid to death, while her offspring lays by her in shock, the humans eventually leave, the trackers still inside the Tulkuns. When the Metkania discovers that their friends are getting killed, they become angry and decide to enrage with the attackers. However, Jake calms them down and mentions that they need to inform the Tulkuns about the trackers first. This is the only way that they can prevent a future strike. As soon as Loak hears this, he leaves to inform his best friend, Payakan, about it. Onong and his few other locals also join him. After a while, they eventually meet Payakan and prepare to pull the tracker out of him. But just then, the colonel and his hunting crew arrive in a whale ship. After seeing them, Loak connects to his father and informs him about the situation. In the nick of time, he and his friends also manage to pull the tracker out of the Payakan's body. After this, they hide underwater while the colonel's crew start looking for them. Meanwhile, Jake approaches Tonawari and informs him that the children are missing. This worries the latter and he quickly orders the people to prepare for war. Jake and Ney'tiri also grab their weapons and soon all of them collectively head towards the battlefield. On the other hand, the colonel orders his crew to launch their attack on the Tulkuns and find Jake's children. After searching for a while, they eventually find Kirit and Tuk and capture them in a net. Loak tries his best to tear the net, but gets himself pulled in the whale ship with it. Soon, the colonel arrives and cuffs them into the railing of the ship. He then takes Loak's collar transmitter and asks Jake to surrender for the safety of the children. Having no options, Jake agrees to his conditions. At the same time, Payakan notices his best friend Loak handcuffed to the deck and decides to save him. In a risky move, he suddenly jumps onto the deck and starts moving its massive fins. This throws away a lot of soldiers and obliterates the ship. Taking advantage of the distraction, Jake and the Metkania also launch their attack on the colonel and his army. They also want to save their children, but they also want revenge. Meanwhile, Spider breaks the controller of the whale ship, causing it to strike the rocks and allow water to fill inside it. Next, Jake and his eldest son, Ney'tiri, quickly climb the deck and free Loak, Tuk, and Kiri. They then order the children to return to safety, but Loak refuses. Instead, he decides to save his adopted brother, Spider. Ney'tiri also joins him, and after a bit of searching, they find out Spider. When they are about to leave the ship, the colonel notices and opens fire. Eventually, Ney'tiri gets hit by one of the bullets and is severely injured. Loak and Spider immediately take him to the shore to his mother, but due to excessive blood loss, he passes. While the evil colonel manages to capture Kiri and Tuk using his scone. He later connects with Jake and reveals that both of his daughters are with him. After getting this information, Jake somehow calms Ney'tiri down and persuades her to join him to saving their daughters. The latter obliges, and filled with rage, she calls her scone, grabs her bow and arrows, and goes flying towards the ship. Soon, Jake approaches the ship and causes the explosion, killing the colonel's men. Ney'tiri also arrives there and starts shooting arrows at the remaining humans, killing them instantly. Meanwhile, Jake finds his little daughter Tuk and frees her, but at the same time, the colonel also shows up. He's holding Kiri at knife point. He also threatens Jake to put down his weapons. The latter reluctantly does so. In the meantime, the vengeful Ney'tiri captures Spider and threatens to kill him. At first, the colonel mentions that he has no relationship with Spider, but when Ney'tiri makes a small cut on the boy's chest, he immediately leaves Kiri. With this, Ney'tiri and his family prepare to leave, but the colonel mentions that he will again hunt Jake down and kill him. Later, Jake realizes that he needs to eliminate the colonel to live a peaceful life. Hence, he returns to the battlefield. This time, the archer rivals fight each other in an old-fashioned fist fight. This one is a brutal one, and the two match each other first stride, but in the end, it is our hero Jake who prevails. He manages to wrap his arms around the colonel's neck and knock him unconscious. Jake assumes he is dead and lets him drown in the water. Unfortunately, he too struggles to breathe and starts sinking to the bottom. But at the same time, Loak comes to his rescue and brings him back to the surface. Later, Payakan carries the whole family and brings them to the shore. On the other hand, Spider also pulls his biological dad out of water and saves him. But when the colonel asks to leave the place with him, Spider refuses and returns to his adoptive family. In the last scene, Jake's family and the whole Metkania tribe bury Natiam's body at the bottom of the ocean where the lighting tubes embrace him like their own. The movie ends with Jake remembering his best memories with the eldest son and realizing that he's in heaven with their gods. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video, and if you did, do subscribe and like it for more.